Tonight's guest is Owen Hewitt. He captures military aviation photography, shares knowledge in one-of-a-kind technical posts on Instagram. He's also an artist and a lover of the C-17 Globemaster III. How and why of all of these things tonight on the Spotters podcast. Awesome. Kyle, welcome. All right. I didn't see any questions in the channel. If you guys have any questions for Owen tonight, you can always post it here in the chat for the live, and we'll answer it as we go. Owen, welcome. Just click on that invite that I sent you. Thank you. David, welcome to the show. All right, Owen, let's try that again. There we go.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's working now.
All right, good deal.
All right, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right,
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah, I know David. Yeah, he's from Georgia. I've met him a time or two.
Yeah, he actually told me about the North Georgia Air Show.
Yeah, Rome. Yeah, it's a great one. Wish I could get there this year. Unfortunately, I've got to make a business trip up to New York State that weekend, so it's just gonna not logistically work out for me, unfortunately. But it's a great one because it's in the fall. The trees are starting to turn, and there's some mountains in the background. So especially when they're coming by, like I think the Blues are going to be there, and they're doing their the sneak pass. They're coming pretty low, and you can get the mountains in the background.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be a nice. I'm gonna try to make it out there. I think it's the week before the Orlando Sanford Air Show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Stewart Air Show in November.
See, the thing about Stewart, I've never been there, but it just looks like it's so backlit.
It is.
Yeah, and I'm stickler about light, right? So I love the shows where the sun's directly behind you. And shows that are great for that are typically Oceana, which is this weekend. Not going to be able to make it, unfortunately, but the sun stays behind you most of the day. Later in the day, it starts getting over to your left shoulder, but earlier in the day, the sun is in great position. Pensacola Homecoming, man, that's a awesome show. It's really late in the year, right? Early November. So the sun is relatively low on the horizon, and it's all behind you because, it's an east-west runway. Another good one that I've been to is Jacksonville. It's pretty late in the season at the air base itself. It's an east-west runway. I think this year is a beach show, of course. As the sun sets, it probably improves the lighting. Yeah, I'm really a stickler for good light. If a show is really awful about light, I'm not really interested in going.
Yeah, I mean, the night show is pretty cool at Stewart.
Yeah, it might be worth the trip to do it just for that, but I don't know. I just don't have the best luck shooting night stuff with my gear, unfortunately.
Yeah. What do you shoot with right now?
So right now I've got a Sony A1 body and a 200 to 600 Sony lens. Yeah, that's my go-to. But that wasn't what I always used. I know we'll get into it, but so back in college, I had a film camera, and film, you either had 24 or 36 exposures, so you had to be like crazy selective on what you wanted to take pictures of. And at the time, I was in Virginia, and I'd go to Oceana, so of course, I was all about the F-14 back then, and I had to be, as I said, crazy selective, and so we only got a few shots of the plane just because you run out of film. So, but I invested in one of Pentax's very first digital cameras in the late '90s. It gave me a pretty good run. I didn't have a very good lens, right? So there was a time period where I really didn't follow aviation photography very much because I was early in my career, very busy, starting family, having kids, and all that stuff. And then about 2015, I kind of got the bug again, and I ended up buying a Nikon D7200, and then I bought a Sigma 100 to 400 lens, and I started to pick up on the newer technology. I know that the 7200 was a crop sensor, so I knew it would extend my reach a little bit on my lens, which was a good thing, but I still wasn't getting quite the resolution. I started honing my craft a little bit, and then I upgraded to a D500. I think I heard you mention that you
Yeah.
use a D500.
Yep. I use the D500 with the Tamron 100 to 400 millimeter.
So that's a great setup. Again, it's a crop sensor, but it's got a really nice buffer, right? So you
Yeah.
can take some pretty, spray and pray, as we say, right? Where you can take
Yeah.
some good sequential shots. So I did the D500 for quite some time. I'd say 3, 4 years, and then I just kept seeing all this stuff about mirrorless, and I'm like, man, do I really want to jump that? Because I had nothing to go from, a Nikon, because Nikon at the time didn't really have anything. They were talking about it, but they at the time that I was looking into it, they hadn't jumped that shark yet, right? So
Yeah.
but now they've got some great stuff out there. And I've got a lot of friends out there that run and shoot Nikon, the Z platform, and it's pretty sharp. So yeah, I initially jumped to Sony with the A9 Mark II, because back then it was like the premier sports camera, namely because it would take shots without the black in the
Yeah.
viewfinder. It would shoot consistently and at a pretty high frame rate without the screen blanking out, like simulating the,
Like a
the, the mirror
shutter.
swing. Exactly. So that was great. It served me well for quite a number of years. And then, of course, they came out with the A1, their flagship. Um, so I got it about 2 or so years into it being on the market and haven't looked back since, man. That thing will take 30 frames a second if you've got the right media. Um, which is a good thing or bad thing. I mean, 30 frames a second, and you're shooting a pass. You're blazing through 120 images in
Yeah.
in no time, right? I mean, you fill up a memory card in no time, right? So again, the good thing about digital is you get a lot of images. The bad thing about digital, you got a lot of images to go through, right? So
Yeah.
it takes some time. Lightroom is a phenomenal program. I know most folks who shoot raw leverage its use, and I just do it straight off of my phone. Sony has a nice little app. It's a creators app, and you can download from the camera through Wi-Fi straight to your phone,
Hmm.
and it sends it raw, so you can sit there and process it right there on your phone, so you can get stuff published fairly quickly if you so choose. And so a lot of people ask me, where do you post process your pictures? Um, I do it a lot of it just on my phone.
Hmm.
Thankfully, it's got enough horsepower. It does get warm when I'm in Lightroom for a while, but
Yeah.
I'll sit there and I'll massage all of them right then and there. I know that the Lightroom Classic tends to have a little more features to it. I know it's got some pretty awesome noise reduction capabilities. So once in a while, I hop over to a laptop to do that type of thing. But as I said, I'm a stickler about lighting. I'm very much a stickler about low ISO. So I do my best to maintain as low a ISO as I can to minimize the noise to reduce the need for the cleanup.
And I think I heard you say that you were a stickler for like stuck props, right?
I am, yeah. I used to folly in that category back when I didn't know any better. But people will ask me, how do you get so good at panning prop planes? Yeah, of course, you want to try to get as low as a shutter speed as you can. There's some people out there that can get it to like 1/50th and can get some pin sharp stuff. I don't see how they do it. They must have unreal muscular control. That's all I got to say. But if I can get a good pass at a 1/100th or 1/200th, just to get enough prop blur, for me, it doesn't have to be the full disc that everybody kind of goes for. If it's got some good blur to it, it shows enough action. So it takes some time. I mean, people ask me, how do you practice? Well, a good thing to do is just find you a busy road and start panning vehicles coming by at 30 or 40 miles an hour. And if you're fairly close, that kind of resembles the same speed as, say, a prop plane going by. And if you can get those pin sharp, then you can, elevate your camera a little bit at a show to get some better images with the prop planes. Yeah.
Yeah, I did some spotting today. I'm in Houston today, tomorrow, probably come back Thursday. And, in the scouting, it's like, okay, well, I want to do some spotting when I'm out there. Uh, Today, regardless of whatever's people's political sides are, my whole thing was to go see Marine One at the George H.W. Bush Museum.
Yeah.
Uh, so I saw that they had a Marine One and a locomotive, and I don't really remember his presidency because it was in the 80s sometime, and I was like a kid.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I want to go see that. And lucky for me, there's an airport just outside, the museum.
Okay.
And they had a bunch of Texans come in, a Jayhawk, a Beechcraft. It was really busy at that airport.
Hmm.
Um, I was able to, because I work at the FAA, I was able to call up to the tower and they got me up on the catwalk.
Oh,
So I was
nice.
able to get some pictures of the Texans taking off,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, I got to slow down. I'm going to talk to the guy that hates frozen props tonight. I
I
can't
would say,
have a
hey,
frozen prop.
I wouldn't say hey, but it's you can do better if you just practice, right? It's really what it's all boils down to is just if it's something you want to get better at, that's definitely an area where people certainly can stand to improve.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I could still improve it. I
Yeah,
try.
I say I'm not perfect at all. I mean, like I said, you do a pass, you get 120 images on your camera, and I'll tell you, a lot of times there may be two or three that are worth keeping. So yeah, I throw away quite a lot.
Oh, I do as well. If I try to just pan, yeah, I'm throwing away
Yeah,
quite a few images. I'm actually loading up the photos from today right now just to see exactly what speed I shot this. I tried full disc, and I think it was like 150th when it was stationary run up photos. I'm like,
okay.
oh look, that's full disc. I'm okay with that. Takeoffs and landing, I think it was maybe 1/100th of a second.
Yeah, I mean
You
that's
know,
pretty good. I mean, if you're doing Texans, that's a turbo prop. They have a really high RPM.
yeah,
Yeah, you probably get pretty good chance of getting a pretty good prop, pretty transparent.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely fun. There's a few shots here that were this guy's running up, and this thing's still loading. 1/160th. Okay,
Yeah,
not
I
too
mean
bad.
that's pretty good. You just gotta know. I mean, it really depends a lot on the image stabilization of your equipment too. If you've got something you can like prop up against or lean your lens up against, that helps too. To help stabilize it because I mean, just a little breeze can throw your photo off.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, the ISO was low too. It's 1/60th ISO. Not too bad. A little bit.
That's surprising. You had it at 150th and you had 160 ISO. What was your f stop?
160. So my settings here, I mean, this one's super blurred.
Yeah.
160 ISO, 400 millimeters, f18, and
Okay.
1/160th of a second.
Yeah. So your f stop was a little high. I don't know if you shoot in manual or not, but
Yeah,
if you
manual.
bring your f stop down a little bit, it lets a little more light in, and it helps to take care of that ISO. Bring it down a little bit. So that was another thing that I struggled with early on was understanding the relationship between ISO, f-stop, and shutter speed. It's basically a triangle. So one will affect the other in different ways. So a lot of people ask me, do I shoot manual? Typically, I shoot in shutter priority. And I put ISO at auto, and I've set my range to where I don't want it to go above a certain number,
Hmm.
and that works for me, depending on the conditions. But that's just how I've been able to massage my photography with shutter priority works just fine.
Yeah, these are pretty decent actually. Not full prop, full disc here, but there's a little bit of gap. Still
Yeah,
pretty cool when you zoom in on
yeah.
it.
I mean, I like to see that. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that. As
I'll
long as
post
it's not
these.
completely froze, I'm good. Yeah, I see people out there shooting prop planes at one 2,000ths, one 4,000ths, one 8,000ths. I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, they want to get a crisp, airframe on it. See the
Yeah,
what was it
they
that
want to. They
I
want to.
think
They want to do the what do you call the rivet counting?
rivet counting. Yeah, I think we had someone on earlier in the year. I think Mark from MK16 Photo. He said, "Oh, people really want to see like the rivets and count every single one of them."
I mean, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I
yeah,
try, like I said, I try to get everything nice and pin sharp. They want to see the pilots drinking coffee. Yeah, I'm sure that's what's going on.
yeah. Brian
Sipping tea.
Collard here. He actually sent us a little comment up above. I have to go search for it, but he believes in Dash 8 supremacy.
-8, as in
Yeah.
the Havilland -8.
Yeah. He's the Army Golden Knights former PAO, so
Ah, well, see,
Dash
I
8
I had the
was
chance to see them, and so I was up at Cleveland a few weekends ago for their show, and they had the Golden Knights up there, and I was staying at a hotel which is just across the road and the railroad track from the airport, and on practice day, I think they did this during the show too, but two of the Thunderbirds were flying wingtip next to the -8, and I caught a pretty good view of it where they were almost like, I mean, you couldn't see the F8 F-16 on the other side. You could just see the bubble canopy. So
oh
I thought it was
nice.
pretty neat shot. But yeah, I mean, -8s are a pretty cool plane. I mean, back in the day when I was back home in Florence, South Carolina, where I grew up, that's all we had for planes coming in and out for. I think at the time it was U.S. Airways before they got consumed by American, and that's all we had is -8. So I've been on a couple.
How was the and do you remember the shutter speed for kind of blend a jet with the prop of the Dash 8?
Oh yeah, so I dropped it down to about 1/200 so that I could get the blur of the prop, and um, because like I said, yeah, I try my best, but they were slow enough. I mean, the dash 8 is prop. It's not like Speedy Gonzalez or anything. So yeah, the F-16s had to be in pretty dirty configuration to maintain the speed on the sides, but they were doing a good job. Yeah, it was like around there. Oh,
Awesome.
we got my boy LaWill on Blues fan 88. So
Welcome
yeah,
everyone.
he's from Cleveland, right? So he actually works at that airport that they have the show.
David had asked, is there anything you don't like about the A1? He's thinking about upgrading from his Sony A6600, which is a crop.
Um, honestly, no. I mean, it's I know they've got a Mark II out, and you can't get it right. So I've tried to upgrade, but I sit here and think about it. I'm like, is there really new features on the Mark II that I absolutely have to have? But I'm sitting here thinking to myself, man, it's a reduced cost. It's still a phenomenal camera. I mean, it's still considered flagship. uh, if you can find one maybe used, go for it, right? It's a great one. It's a huge step if you're going from a 6600 to that one, right? So most people will maybe try like an A7 with a bigger sensor, and then maybe step up to maybe A9. But if you're wanting to go for gold, go for the A1. By all means, it's a great body.
Have you tried any other mirrorless?
No, once I've made the jump to Sony, I've invested so much into it. I really haven't decided to jump into any other platform. I know, like, as I mentioned, Nikon's come on board, and I know Canon is really uh, up in their game, right? So Sony's kind of blazed the trail, but a lot of other companies are starting to catch up, right? And a lot of it has to do with not so much what's going on in the camera as far as megapixels or shutter speed or frame rates or capture rates. a lot of it's got to do with the tracking capability. So
Mhm.
there's some pretty neat tracking capability out there on the newer cameras. In fact, I think Canon's got one that's like specifically for aviation.
It's like I think it was the as your eye looks in the viewfinder, it tracks it like eye tracking or something.
Wow, no, so that's new. Um, yeah, I haven't had a chance to operate a camera that had such Star Trek capabilities. That's pretty out there, but I mean,
Yeah,
that's where things are headed, right? People looking for those type of features.
yeah,
It helps them to hone their skill and what the particular photography they're trying to do. You got folks who like to do bird photography, and you get a whole bunch of birds, but there's only one you want to kind of lock into, and it's there's some innovative stuff out there that can help people improve their skill set for sure.
yeah. BC says Nikon Z8, Z9 recognizes aircraft and will seek out the windshield.
That's interesting. It must. It's interesting to me that it would seek out the windshield, among other things, right? I mean, there's a lot
Yeah,
more features to the aircraft, but that's interesting. So yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure it makes it easier to track, right? So
yeah.
yeah, so more power to them, man. I mean, they got to make themselves stand out, right? So if they can innovate, by all means, there's always going to be a consumer out there that's looking for the latest and the greatest.
That's for sure. At what age do you remember being really interested in aviation?
Aviation in general, man, I'd say really young. And it's all because my dad's always had an interest in aviation. He grew up next to a town that had a grass strip and did a lot of agricultural type flying, and he would go out and he'd wash airplanes just so he can get some rides. Um, so so yeah, I've always had an affinity for aircraft. A lot of people ask me why don't you take lessons or get your license? It's a lot of time commitment to it. It's quite expensive, but I mean, people can afford it, more power to them. I'll gladly take pictures from the ground. But
Or you get started washing some airplanes for some free rides.
yeah, yeah, I don't have time for that, right? Not anymore. So, but uh, back in the mid 2000s, I was doing some 3D art for Microsoft, like flight sim. So I was doing some add-on airplanes, right? So I've made many different types of airplanes through Microsoft, and that was pretty neat. You really get to know the aircraft if you're designing it digitally, and so I had opportunity to get close to a few aircraft and get up in the air with a few designing them. But man, I tell you, that's a time-consuming activity, and as things have gotten more advanced, and the I guess the what do you call the pixels, right? In the polygons of the aircraft have gotten much higher resolution because hardware can handle it these days. It just takes a huge amount of time to develop things unless you've got like 3D scanners and stuff like that to to import, and I just don't have time for it anymore. But that solved the aviation bug for a while for me.
Yeah. Is that how you got so good at drawing aircraft?
Well, I've always drawn. I'm left-handed, right? So I guess people think that lefties are typically artistic. Um, and of course, I can't draw a person to save my life, but I can draw inanimate aircraft. That just seems to be a forte of mine. Unfortunately, I just haven't had a lot of time to do it. I haven't really been able to do much this year. Past 2 years, I had some more time, but yeah, at some point, I want to get back into it. But yeah, it's fun to do. I did it with colored pencils.
Did you pretty much just say, okay, I'm going to draw Wildcat today, or do you kind of like how do you decide what kind of aircraft to draw?
Generally, I generally like to draw what I like, right? So a lot of the aircraft that I drew in the past couple of years are things that I have a natural affinity for. Um, I drew one Harrier from it was a Aviate B2 from the Tigers, 548, and posted it on. It was a group chat for legacy Harriers, um, and it became very popular, and people started requesting, "Hey, can you draw me this one, this one, this one, this one?" So I had it must have been six or seven ones I did in a row, but they were all commissioned. So they all threw money at me to draw these aircraft, which was nice. Um, I like to draw what I like.
Yeah, that's always fun when someone's throwing
Yeah.
some cash your way for something that you love to do in the first
Yeah,
place.
yeah. I mean, you don't want to do that too much, then turns into work, right? So,
Yeah.
but it was nice while it lasted. It was fun.
So on your Instagram, it's a big mix of photos. You have some of your photos, you're tagged into other people's photos, and you have, your colored pencil art here, but you have a lot of these kind of like engineering technical posts.
Yeah,
So I just clicked on one. It's turkey feathers
yeah,
for the F-35 and an F-18, but it looks like.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I'm not an engineer, right? So a lot of times I'll put stuff out there and I'll get corrected quite a bit, and I don't, it's no big deal. But people call things certain things, and people may want to know what's the origin story, right? Or what is this particular feature of this aircraft? Why is it designed that way? A pretty popular one that I've done in the past was, one of my favorite aircraft is the C-17, and if you look at it from underneath, you'll notice that the sponsons for the gear, they're asymmetric. And the reason for that is you've got an APU in one of them, right? So
Mhm.
you got to have room for the APU. So that's why it's extended toward the cabin. And so I actually took a picture and drew two lines to show, yes, there is a difference, because some people will challenge and say, oh, they're the same. But, just to kind of, I know sometimes it's like, hey, you're pointing out the obvious. Well, not everybody
Yeah.
realizes it, right? So, and there's a lot of other features of that particular aircraft are kind of neat. I mean, there's a lot of surfaces on that aircraft that aren't painted. And the reason for that is the paint would get obliterated because it would be in the path of hot air, right? Namely the flaps, right? So they're designed to be what are known as blown flaps. So basically, they can redirect the airflow from the engines downward, so it softens their landing, right? As they're coming in aggressively,
Mm.
it helps to cushion their landing. So I mean, that's just one of the many features of that aircraft that make it so interesting.
How did you I'm trying, you know what? I need to reach out to Instagram because there's like post reels, this new repost thing. I need a section just to find all your technical posts. Because I'm here like just scrolling. I'm like, okay, where's this post? Where's this post? I saw
Yeah,
one C-17 post where the pontoon is longer on the pilot side. I'm like, okay, I see that. I didn't really pay attention to that before.
yeah,
Cool. But I want to see all these technical posts in one section.
yeah. At one time, you could create what they call collections, and for whatever reason, they took that away. So I did have a lot of them kind of in a what called it a collection, so it made it easier to go find them. Yeah, it would be nice if we could figure out a way to like catalog the posts, right? And that way it would make it easier for folks to, if they're looking for something specific, could, a
Yeah.
little easier instead of having to scroll. But uh,
I
I
guess you could
know,
add it to the highlights for that aircraft.
yeah, for sure. I could certainly do that. Yeah, that's a good
Cool.
idea.
So are you going to be my vice president when I declare the A-10? unretired?
I wish, man. I tell you, I do have a love affair for that aircraft. As I mentioned before, I grew up in Florence, South Carolina, and back in the day, Myrtle Beach had an Air Force base, and A-10s were based there. And so they would fly over where I lived all the time. I mean, this was back when they were painted camouflage. So it was really cool seeing and hearing. I mean, everybody knows their very characteristic sound of those GE engines. Um, it's going to be a very sad day when that thing finally retires. It's just such an iconic aircraft. I, I recently have gotten into doing some Lego. So yes, I'm an adult fan of Lego, and there's this website called Brick Veteran, and they do some phenomenal designs of modern military aircraft using genuine Lego parts. And they have this one kit that's an A-10, and the only non-Lego bit in the entire kit, they've 3D modeled the turret in metal. So that's a feature of the aircraft. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, A-10's just a phenomenal aircraft. And one year at Rome, the demo pilot Gator, I handed him a patch of mine, and he immediately slapped it on his shoulder and ended up flying with it,
Awesome.
which that was pretty cool.
That's great. What drew you to the C-17? What's so cool about it?
So again, as I mentioned, I'm from South Carolina, and back in middle school, this was in the late '80s. So yeah, I'm dating myself. I was in Civil Air Patrol, and we did a camp down in Charleston one summer. And during that visit, uh, McDonnell Douglas at the time, they were the ones that originated the design, came and gave a presentation for us on this new aircraft, right? Because at the time, Charleston had C-141s, the Starlifter.
Star lifters, yeah.
Yep, and so they came to kind of introduce, hey, what's the next generation lifter? And it was the C-17, and they showed this aircraft with, it was high wing with winglets, four engines and T-tail. It just looked badass for late '80s, right? It just didn't look like anything that was out there yet. I'm like, man, that's just such a cool airplane. And then, later on, Charleston was the home of the first squadron of C-17s. And also, it early on was the training facility, right? So as the UK bought them, Australia, Canada, they all had to come to Charleston to be trained to fly them. So it kind of became the home away from home for the C-17, because they were actually created in Longview, California. But yeah, I mean, it's just, being that they're in Charleston, I've lived in all parts of the state. I'm currently in the upstate near Greenville, South Carolina, and once in a while we'll see them come up and do some touch and goes and fly in the pattern. And I'll try to grab a few photos, because fortunately I'm within the pattern of when they're doing their tower controlled rounds, and so once in a while we'll see a taste of the low country coming up and visiting.
That's cool. Did you have the same kind of draw to like the C5 or not so
Well,
much?
I've always thought the C5 was just an amazing aircraft in general because of the sheer size of it. And, of course, I really loved back when it was the B model and had those huge GE engines that had that characteristic growl to them. I mean, when you couldn't see them flying overhead, but if you heard it, you knew exactly what it was. It was C5 because of the sound. And another thing that kind of always stuck out to me was, um, there's a ton of paint on that aircraft. They could save 2,000 pounds if they didn't paint it. Right. So I'm like, man, that's just a crazy statistic. It's like 2,000 pounds of paint dried on this aircraft. Just gives you an idea how massive it is. As I mentioned, I'm in Greenville. Here lately, we've been having some AN 124s come in.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, so I've had a chance to catch those coming in and out. That's a massive aircraft, and it really reminds me a lot of the C5 and how the engines sound, and they're pretty smoky, as you can
Right.
imagine. Being old Russian technology, but yeah, that thing's reminds me a lot of the C5.
Is there any other besides the A10 being a favorite of you for you? Is there like a fighter or a warbird that you? I mean, there are two different classifications, but
Yeah, so for Warbird, absolutely a P-51 D model, right? And the reason for that is that's my dad's favorite, right? So one of the two P-51s that I drew, the P-51 that's the Swamp Fox, right? I gave that picture to my dad, so he's got it framed in his office. But I've always taken photos of the P-51 and given him some to have printed and put in his office. But yeah, that one's definitely a favorite. Empire of the Sun. Do you ever see that movie?
yeah,
Steven Spielberg, right? In that sequence where they're coming to attack and Christian, what's his name? Christian Bale is up there and saluting the pilots as they're coming by in slow motion. It's always stuck in my mind as a truly amazing sequence of aerial photography. It really it was left an impression on me. But as far as a modern jet, I'd have to say F-16 is near and dear to my heart for many reasons. Number one, it's the same age as me, right? So it came about in '74. That's the year uh, I was born. They've moved production of it from Fort Worth. Now it's being produced in Greenville. So once in a while, I'll get a chance to go out to that area and grab some shots of the new aircraft they're building. They're doing them for Bahrain and Slovenia and there's Taiwan. I think is some they're going to start building soon. So it's really cool that platform's been around for 50 plus 51 years now, and it's still going strong as a it's being sold overseas, right? But still highly sought after platform. It's just as lethal as it was back then. So yeah, that's a pretty. And of course, All Air Force Base is not too far from where I grew up, and they're the home of F-16. And then, of course, South Carolina Air National Guard use the F-16. They just use a different block version.
yeah, that'd be the Air National Guards, the Swamp Foxes, correct?
They are. Yep. So they fly. I believe they fly the Block 52 with the Pratt and Whitneys, and then Shaw uses the Block 50s with the General Electrics.
Yeah, and Shaw is the home of the Viper demo team.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I tell you, last summer, I had the opportunity to present FEMA, the current uh, Viper demo pilot, with a drawing of the current painted aircraft commemorating the 50th anniversary of it at Oshkosh last summer, and that was a great opportunity to present him that, and had the entire team sign a printed version for it, and I've got it posted in my office today.
Oh, very cool. Have you gone to Sun and Fun?
I have yet to make it to Sun and Fun, unfortunately. It's one of those that it unfortunately hits around a rough time of the year for work and whatnot. But at some point, I do wish to get down there for sure.
Yeah, next year's they're celebrating the 250th year of the United States, so I'm
Okay.
sure it's going to be a pretty big showing. Hopefully, they get I mean, this year they had Harriers and A10s show up, so hopefully next year we get a nice selection of both Air Force, Navy,
Mhm.
Marines. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Let me see what else. Dang, we covered like all the questions
Already?
already.
Well,
Oh, we did like 45 minutes of it, but that's pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I'd say.
Let's see. Knocked out all of it. Have you done any other photography besides aviation and wildlife?
No, I mean, I've done a few family portraits and whatnot, one-offs. It's I don't get I don't get asked to do that very much. I stick to the aircraft because that's what I know and can do well. I'm interested in perhaps dabbling into maybe like automobile racing or like maybe like your Road Atlanta type racing or not necessarily NASCAR. That's a tough one to shoot, but something where you can kind of set up in a corner and catch them coming around the bend or something. That might be fun to do at some point in my future, but I don't know people that do it well enough to hook up with or anything. So
Is there any I don't know what's the technical term for it, but is there any dirt tracks for like modified racing or drag racing or anything like that?
well, I mean, I'm not too far away from Concord, North Carolina. Of course, they've got the NHRA track, the four wide up there. Now that would be pretty cool to be able to set up in a good position to catch them coming at me head on. But I mean, I think you got to be official media to get like that. But yeah, I've always my dad also took me to drag races growing up. We weren't far from Darlington. Of course, it's got the NASCAR track, but back in the day, they had a pretty nice drag race strip, and I'd see people like Shirley Muldowney and Don Perdome, and a lot of these John Force. I saw all these people pretty up close growing up, and yeah, I mean, of course, I wasn't into photography at the time, but yeah, it'd be really cool to catch the flames coming out of the headers.
How about have you done any GA aviation,
Yeah, I mean, we've got a few.
aerobatics, or
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll take some shots of those when I'm at air shows. I guess the draw of people on my side is they like the military stuff, right? So the civilian stuff for whatever reason doesn't draw as much likes or comments or whatever. But I still like to grab them on my own. But yeah, I've been to a few fly-ins that have happened locally. Um, I live not far away from a place called Triple Tree. It's a pretty famous site for remote controlled events. In fact, they have one every May, um, and they have people come in from all over the world to come and fly their aircraft. Um, Once in a while, I'll try to get down that way if work permitting. But
yeah,
yeah, it's fun to catch stuff that's not typical, right? So I like to get interesting or different things, right? Like I said,
yeah.
catching the AN 124 is always fun because it's not your normal visitor coming in. We get a lot of P8s coming in, actually from Jacksonville. They'll come in and do practice because it's 737, so it's going to have a similar flight pattern to most of your civilian 737s, and so I'll grab a shot at one of those once in a while if the light's right. Yeah, if the sun's setting, I'll try to grab a couple shots of it if I'm home.
Have you done? There's not. I've kind of looked at the aeronautical charts in the Carolinas, and there is like a low level route. Have you done any, climbing up the mountains there, trying to get some?
So you may or may not have seen. I've got a couple of shots of some F-15s that were banked. So that was in the mountains of Virginia back during COVID. I had a lot more free time back then. And yeah, that was a low level route. 42, I believe, is the name of it. So Seymour Johnson will use those to practice, low level flight, right? Mocking going through maybe the mountains of Afghanistan or whatever. Yeah, that was a neat opportunity to get up there and catch a few of those as they were making a turn around one of the points.
Oh yeah, I see that here. Yeah,
Yeah, in fact, the instructor pilot for that specific image has a blow up of that image over his couch.
nice.
Yeah, he's now out west. I think he's out in Idaho right now. But I believe he is going to be going to Oregon, which is getting the new EX version.
It's about time.
I know, right?
We need to
Yeah,
start bringing back some of those variety of military aircraft. I mean, I like the F-22, I like the F-35s, but we just can't have two.
yeah.
I want the EX. Uh, I would like to see, a variety of it again. I would love to see the A-10 stick around.
Yeah, well, we
Uh,
all.
yeah, so I on my story I had posted myself in like the Oval Office, sitting in the president's chair, and it's like, okay, what's my first action in business here?
Yeah, it
And
was
a
my
lot of
first
it
executive order. It's like we're going to keep the A10 forever.
to keep the A-10, which I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, everyone has the A-10 on their chopping block. Maybe if we make it the A-11, but then it makes me sound like I want a Foxtrot 47 or something, like,
You know, it would be cool if they did decide to redesign a new airplane around a gun. I mean, there's just nothing cooler than that story, right? But
yeah.
I mean, I know the Marines love it because it provides close air support, right? I mean, you can't deny hearing that Burt sound. It's the sound of freedom for them and protecting them to do the job that they signed up for. So, again, I just honestly, personally, I don't see where the F-35 can really compete. It doesn't have a big enough gun for me.
No, I think we should probably give the A-10s to the Marine Corps and have them fly it, protect their own type of deal, I
Yeah.
would like to see the A-10 get like a full avionics upgrade. Maybe we could keep it in a little longer or
Yeah.
change the turbofan engines to maybe a jet engine.
I
Uh,
mean, there's nothing wrong with those engines. I tell you, those engines are flown like thousands and thousands of times a day. I mean, it's the basis for a lot of the commercial engines, like on the CRJs and whatnot. So it's a proven power plant for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's other spare parts that they just can't get. I mean, the plane was designed and built in the 70s, and so you're going to run out of stuff. It's just inevitable. But it's just been one of those. I mean, you look at it like, hey, they can fly the B-52 and it's destined to fly until like 2060 or something. Why can't they do that for the A10, right?
yeah, that thing will be flying. It'll be 100 years old.
Yeah, so
Uh, well, if they don't keep the A-10s, I want to see a different type of demo for an F-35 then.
well, I
Instead
don't.
of like a high speed, I
Yeah,
want them to do like a wall of fire with the F-35.
yeah, that would be cool. Have you had a chance to catch the F-35C demo?
I have not. I don't think so.
Man, that's pretty phenomenal because they fly two jets. It's pretty good if you get a chance.
Honestly, I'm not very good at the damn variants for the F-35.
What do you
I know
mean?
the Air Force is the
Right?
A model. I guess the C model is that the VTOL one.
No, so the C model is the Navy version. It's got bigger wings that fold, and it also
Okay.
has bigger elevators and the nose gear. Of course, the landing gear itself is a lot beefier, so it can withstand landing on an aircraft carrier. So it's the bigger version. The B
That
model
is the
uh,
VTOL one.
is the VTOL, right? So, think about a good way to remember it is beach, and Marines are typically the ones the first to hit the beach, right? So the
Yeah.
Marines are the ones that fly the B model.
Then I have seen all the models then.
So the B demo is pretty awesome. I've
Yeah.
caught that a few times from they typically will fly from Beaufort. I'm not sure which base they fly out on the West Coast, but I think they've got a demo out there as well. But yeah, VMF A01, the Warlords out of Beaufort, they've
Yeah.
been going around and doing a few demos, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I saw their demo last year at the Air and Sea Show, at the Hyundai Air and Sea Show in Miami Beach. And it was just too hot from being on the beach. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to go into this parking garage where I had parked
Hmm.
and catch it from the rooftop. And they had hovered like right in front of where I was standing.
Oh
So
man,
I didn't get like the good, like up close rivet counting crisp
yeah,
photos,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
got the photos of them hovering from almost eye level.
So I had the opportunity to go to the Air and Sea show this year. Of course, they had that huge formation. That was pretty awesome to capture.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting because I've been to the show at Pensacola Beach in the summer, the July show, and they don't let anybody in the water at all for the show there. But at Miami, man, you had people all out in the water. It was an unreal experience for me, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's the first time that formation ever took place ever.
I think so. Yeah, and
Uh,
it
and
was pretty special.
for those people not that didn't see the thousands of photos that we all posted, the B2 is in the front, and
Right.
then it's the B1, the F-22, I believe,
So you had the
B-52.
three.
So
Yeah, you had the three bombers.
B1, yeah,
Yeah.
B2, the B2 in the front, B1, and the B-52. And then it was an A-10, an F-15, an F-22, and an F-16. I didn't have enough lens for any of it,
Oh,
you know?
really? Oh, yeah,
Because when I noticed they were flying right behind me, and I was out there with Zone 5 Photo and uh, I believe it's JW Photography. And we're both out there. We're kind of like they're sitting flank with me, and the jets are coming overhead, and I'm like with my hands up. I'm like, okay, if someone gets this picture,
yeah,
it's like the field goal right here with the jets
yep,
coming over.
right, yeah,
But yeah, my angle I was off
yeah.
center, so I didn't get it. But
So
it was
yeah, so I
still
was
awesome to see.
I was hanging with Omar. You know Omar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So he was kind enough to let me hang with him that day and help point out where planes. So he knew they would be coming from behind because that's what they did for practice the day before. He's like, "Hey, you need to be looking this way." So yeah, I got them coming head on. That was pretty awesome.
I have this love for pretty much the biggest, most badass aircraft. The B2 is amazing. It's my wife's favorite because it looks like a UFO. Uh,
It's either that or it looks like a flying Dorito.
Flying Dorito. I love the B1. I think that these guys that fly it just fly it like a fighter jet.
Yeah.
It's just so massive.
Yeah, that's the biggest reason I went down there is to catch the B1 coming across. Man, that thing was just that was awesome. Unfortunately that airframe the days are numbered, and it's got a lot to do with how they fly it. The airframe hates it, right? So every time they take it up and do that type of stuff, it's hundreds of hours of maintenance just to kind of get it back into good condition again. It comes at a cost, but it sure makes some awesome photography.
Yeah. Yeah, the B-52 is pretty amazing, but it almost looks like it's gonna, need more maintenance because you have all these wrinkles in it every time it flies.
So, well, I mean, there's a reason for the wrinkles actually. As it gets up to altitude, it's kind of like a balloon, right? So it pressurizes and all those wrinkles go away, right? So those don't exist when they're up at altitude. So they're intentional. It allows the metal to shrink and to grow. The SR-71 itself was uh, it leaked fuel when it was sitting on the ground because at altitude and speed,
Yeah.
the metal is so hot it expanded and basically locked everything together. But for the B2, it's a little different. Um, they have to allow for things to kind of move because metal, it's going to expand and contract. So it's not detrimental to its performance. I mean, like I said, it's destined to fly until 2060 or 70 or 80 or whatever they decide. Man, I tell you what. So
Yeah. Thank you. Well, we can probably talk about every airframe for the next hour.
I know
But
time to
somehow we
time to
reached
time to wrap it up.
time to wrap it up. Somehow we did reach our hour.
Yeah,
So I want to thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure talking to you.
yeah, it's been fun.
Keep on posting those technical posts. I'm learning something every time I look at it.
Yeah, I need to get some new stuff on there. But yeah, I'll make an effort to do that.
Awesome. All right, where can people see your work right now?
So my Instagram is at Owen Aviation. That's primarily where I post. I've got a sister Facebook, Owen Aviation Photos, but it's not near as popular as my Instagram.
Yeah, I had to just make one the other day on Facebook, so I think I have like 0 people on Facebook, but
Yeah, it's a completely different audience, right?
yeah,
So Instagram, it's a mix of people, right? You're not getting an older crowd, but you tend to get the younger folks. And I get messages quite often. Hey, I really appreciate you publishing, your specs for some of your photos. I don't do it all the time, but a lot of times I'll do that just to help the younger people understand what are my settings and whatnot, so that they can hone their own craft.
that's the best way forward is teaching those that want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, definitely. All right, Owen, we're done for tonight.
All right.
Enjoy the
Sounds good.
rest of your stay, and hopefully we get back to getting more jets.
That's right. All right. Well, have a good night.
All
Thanks.
right, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining this
Yep.
episode of the Spotters Podcast, and we'll see you on the next time.
Take
Good night.
care.